I'm going to go ahead and call this meeting to order. Was the meeting properly posted?
Yes, it was.
All right, thank you. All right, it looks like we have a 16-point agenda. I would entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
Terry Severson will move.
Fatal second.
All right, I have a motion by Severson, second by Cosgrove. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, we have an approved agenda. All right, item number 4, read and approve minutes of the November 13th, 2020 LEJC meeting. So I have one correction, Amber. In the second paragraph, it says that also present for the meeting or a portion of the meeting was the clerk of Circuit Court and Jennifer Lau, but they both were not able to make the meeting last time. So that would be one minor modification. I don't know if that can be a typo or if I should.
I know Jennifer Lau was in the meeting in person because she sat up there with us.
Oh, right. You're right. I was thinking of.
If Stacy wasn't, I can take that off.
Yeah, she definitely wasn't. Oh, yeah, but you're right. I'm sorry. I was thinking Jennifer Harper wasn't there.
Okay, I'll make that change.
All right. So I'm making a motion to approve the minutes with that minor correction. Do I have a second?
Terry Severson will second.
All right. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Sorry, opposed? All right, the minutes are approved. All right, item number 5, coroner updates.
Good morning, Sheriff Bindle. I got an email from Coroner James Rosing. Current wait time for final autopsy reports from the Dane County Medical Examiner Office is 5 to 6 months. They are performing COVID tests on all cases sent for autopsy. They will only perform an autopsy on a COVID positive descendant if there is a clear need for a forensic autopsy. This is due to the increased risk to their staff and the expense involved in decontaminating an exam room once someone with COVID is opened up. While a full autopsy can only be performed on COVID positive individuals under very specific circumstances, the medical officer's examiner's office has recently developed a new service to assist offices like ours in determining the cause of death when a full autopsy can't be done or when they feel a cause of death can be determined by less invasive means. The new service involves a full external exam as well as toxicology and other blood tests. They also have the ability to do scans and x-rays, which can be very helpful in determining the cause of death. This service is obviously much less expensive than a full autopsy as well. Our office has been able to utilize it twice in the past several months. I will submit a report in January that includes the total number of calls in 2020, as well as a breakdown in the number of hospice cases, suicides, accidents, etc. Best wishes to everyone for a happy holiday and a healthy 2021. Regards, Jim.
All right, thank you. All right, item number 6, clerk of court updates. So she did send us her report via email last night, and don't know if you all got a chance to read that. The one thing that I guess I'd like to bring up is she did ask that we potentially change our meeting time to 8:30 instead of 9 so that they might be able to attend. So I guess when we get to scheduling our next meeting, we can discuss that further. Did anyone have any comments or questions on the clerk of court's updates? All right, then I'm going to move into item number 7, probate department.
Okay, I also submitted some reports. It showed where the budget was at currently. I kind of just enumerated some of the things that were a little bit over budget. So the one thing I wanted to just make note of that Devin did start on November 16th in this office, and everything's going well. I'm very happy to have her and doing well. So I have her actually step over and say hello to everyone so that you could officially meet her if you haven't. Hi. So some of you probably know her, but we're very excited to have her on board. The only other thing on the line items with the budget, so currently the overall budget is still under budget because I haven't received everything from attorneys. The telephone bill is higher, and that is due to the Zoom meetings and us having to opt in by phone because with our desktops, we have to opt in by phone as well to hear them because they don't have the microphone on those. And then advertising for Devin's position, and then getting information from Carlson Detman was a contract service. And then the attorney fees for adult guardianships and mental cases are up this year, but other attorney fees are down. So overall, things are still kind of in check, but I did want to point out it appears to be increased need for adult guardianships, and there's also increased need for help with mental cases. So just wanted to kind of give you an overview of where the budget was at. Does anyone have any questions?
I do, yeah. Could you give us a brief update on the status of the large courtroom?
The large courtroom is under construction. They've tore up a lot of the carpet. Randy has removed some concrete to get to conduit, and it is in progress. I know they're working on it several days a week, if not daily. Clint could maybe also give you some more information on that.
I think you've kind of covered the big pieces. We also approved the contracts then for the carpentry and electrical piece of it, as well as the data wiring it, and then the purchasing of the improvements to the internet protocol phone system was all passed at the last county board meeting. So we have those approvals and bids. Barb has reached out to those vendors and let them know that their bids have been completed. In regards to the carpentry and electrical work, we've also cut check for the down payments for it and purchasing of materials. So the pieces are coming together. It's a lot of good folks that are doing some crosstalk and communication to keep the ball rolling, and appreciate all the efforts that are going into making it happen.
I just wanted to add that in the small courtroom, the DAR, the digital audio recording system, was installed in the small courtroom on this last Wednesday. And so that I think is about 99% complete in the small courtroom.
If I can also add, we have the project manager on board for the large courtroom, and those meetings will start next week. So we are well on schedule for that project.
That's good news. Okay, thank you. All right, district attorney updates. Good morning. You're muted, Jennifer. Can you unmute?
There we go. I'm used to Zoom, not Cisco. In any event, I feel sorry for Jen for being confused with me. So Melissa, you can't make that mistake. It's going to give her a heart attack. In any event, and quickly on the issue of having meetings, it's at 8:30. It's better because from our perspective, because court starts at 9 o'clock. So I'm guessing that's where Stacy's tied up with that. I'm often tied up at the same time as well. We've gone back and forth with this over the years. We've had a lot of time where we've been 8:30, and then we have some members who would of the board or committee who would prefer to be 9 o'clock. So there's a lot of history there, but I would prefer 8:30. Other than that, I mean, we are continuing in the year of the criminal. Without a doubt, our usual systems for holding people accountable really have not been as effective this year for a variety of reasons, all related to COVID. So we're continuing to operate with an uptick in criminal activity, although it's of a different nature in my view than it has been in the past. A couple of positives. I really think that the Zoom technology should be available moving forward, regardless of when, if and when the pandemic is, and it should be when, is back to a more manageable level. I think it's an excellent resource for our victims in our criminal cases. I think that that should always be available moving forward in our criminal cases. We continue to be overloaded with meeting our victim requirements, and partly Zoom has been such a great boon to victims in such a wide variety of ways. Between that and the new law, we are having so many more victim contacts. I mean, it's unbelievable than we did before, but it's something that I can't really, I'm working on it, trying to get some kind of empirical evidence because we don't have a baseline. You know, last year, how many victims came to court hearings, or last year, how many victim contacts did we have? So trying to suss out whether or not, or how to come about that. I have asked for information from the judge to see how much longer it's taking for cases to come to disposition this year compared to last year. There are district attorneys across the state are seeing, we're seeing a lot of the same dynamics change, and then we're really having some very some areas where we're seeing some very divergent operations. So we're trying to collect some data on that, which hopefully can flesh out a little bit more the victim issue. But other than that, there's plenty of crime. That definitely hasn't slowed down at all.
All right, thank you. All right, it looks like we are to item number 9, approve monthly invoices and other sheriff department reports.
Good morning. Could we go to bills first?
Sounds good.
As you look at everything, I don't see anything that stands out. Everything looks normal to me.
I guess my one question would be is how in your overall budget, since we haven't been able to see any monthly reports, how are things looking as far as going over budget on things overall?
Without seeing a spreadsheet from Clint, I don't have an answer for you at this time.
You mean from Victor?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. I mean, I'm just wondering how we're doing as far as what areas we've overspent on, but okay.
As soon as I get that information, I can ask Victor for a copy. I can email it to everyone.
Yeah, it's just been a few months since we've seen, and so I mean, certainly in January, I think it would be good to know what this, you know, what the end of the year looked like as far as how we did on spending.
Oh, I agree. Again, everything that has been spent has been needed that I'm aware of.
Right.
So,
right. I just think it's good for us to kind of take a big picture look at it at the end of the year and see where we're at. And
absolutely.
Yeah. All right. So are there any questions on the bills from committee members? All right, then I would entertain a motion to approve and pay the bills.
This is Chad, I'll move.
Jerry seconds.
All right, motion by Cosgrove, second by Severson. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, the bills are paid.
I'll have everybody go to the sheriff's monthly report.
Okay.
as you look at the October versus November bills, you can see that there's quite a difference. The number of jail bookings has gone down. It's around 24, which is typical around Christmas time. The average number of inmates housed is 20.58. And the medical costs for anybody that's out of county, we have not had anybody out of county, so we've been very fortunate. The monthly complaints has gone up. Traffic citations is at 62. The civil process papers served is about normal, 27. Transports is down. We only had 3 transports. And the average number on electronic monitoring is 6. For the jail, we had 368 calls for service from dispatch, 88 calls for EMS, 82 calls for the Richland Center Police Department. And one of the things that I wanted to bring up with my sheriff's report that I know that we can't discuss is that when we were able to get these people to work for us as casual, they're asking me, would it be possible that we could buy some uniforms? And I've been taking the money out of my account to buy these, but now it seems that they want to buy the long sleeve shirts, some want jackets. So I want to bring this up to everybody that what we intend to do, and we did not budget for it, is that it will be, we're going to use the line item officer equipment. And what we'll have to do is we'll have to change those numbers at some point for 2021 to get that number up. And I'm not sure that we can do that at this point, but I'll talk with Clint. But I want to bring that to everybody's attention that we're running into a problem where we don't have the money for a line item for these casual people.
Why don't we put that on the January agenda? And then we can talk about it in depth.
Perfect.
Okay.
Otherwise, that's all I've got for today.
All right. Item number 10, permission to sell old squad number 14.
Yes, so now with the new squads in service, I've been taking a look at the squads that we have in impound. Squad 14 seems like a logical choice for us to get rid of at this point. So I'm looking for permission to sell that. Ideally, I would like the money to go back to new car outlay so we can use it for future squad purchases and equipment. I know that line item has been put under capital borrowing, but there is still a line in our budget, the rollover line for new car outlay. And if that would be possible, ideally, I would like the money from the sale to go back into that line.
Yeah, I think that there has been some discussion at the finance meetings to not allow that to happen. As far as I think there was at least 1 or 2 other requests. I think Health and Human Services requested a similar. So I'm not sure that it will be that will be allowed, but you can certainly request it and see what happens. We could potentially approve it here and then send it on to finance, I suppose, would be probably the appropriate. Clint, do you have any thoughts on that as far as?
Yeah, I'm pulling up our rule right now with surplus. I think it's rule 14. Let me find the language. If you have just a minute to hold here, Madam Chair.
Yeah. Certainly, I think, I don't see any problem with selling the vehicle. It'll just be a matter of whether or not we can allocate that money back into the new car outlay fund.
The county clerk's office shall be advised of the disposition of any surplus county property. committees are encouraged to liquidate surplus county property in order to conserve storage space and to assure county property is utilized to its fullest value. The liquidation of surplus county property, which department's supervising committee estimates as a market value of more than $1,000 for that item, must be approved by the county board. Surplus equipment must be offered by email to other county departments at no cost. If no other county department has a use for the surplus equipment, it is then to be liquidated by the supervisory committee by the best means possible. Proceeds from all sales of surplus county property shall be deposited in the general fund. I believe in other practices, memory serves that I think recently Simon Center sold some old floor matting that they had. Money came to the general fund, and then they requested through finance and personnel to have the money transferred back to their fund, I think is how it went. Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you. All right, so do we have to, it sounded like there was multiple steps there as far as, but can we can approve them to go ahead and liquidate, or we can approve them to start the process of letting people know that the other departments know it's available? Clay, have you informed any other departments that this vehicle might be available if for some reason someone wanted to?
I guess I wasn't aware that was a requirement for liquidating a vehicle. I certainly can do that, but I will follow whatever steps I need to follow to liquidate it.
And I guess I don't know if there's additional resolution that's been passed for the sheriff's office to allow deviation from this rule. I'm ignorant to that at the moment.
If I can inject something here, please. Chair Buck. In the past, the county board resolutions to purchase the vehicles also included language to sell the vehicles. So I don't know if that happened this time or not, but that would be the normal process. The resolution would say you're buying 3 vehicles and you have permission to sell X vehicles. So you might want to look at that as a history piece.
What's wrong with the vehicle right now? Was it damaged?
It's beyond its service life. It's got 150 some thousand miles on it. It's got minimal equipment in it. I believe it has a radio and a light and siren controller in it, and that's it. No cages, no computers. It's just not. It's in rough shape. It's time for it to go.
So what would the committee members, what would you like to do?
I'm in favor of selling it. Rid of it, but I don't know who in the county would want to have an old squad car.
That's what I was thinking as well. So why don't we go ahead and if you are so inclined, we could have a motion to approve the liquidation of this car, but then with the instruction that they need to follow Rule 14 to make sure that they're following the proper procedure for that liquidation.
So, Madam Chair, I got another question.
Yeah.
So, if we have to offer it to another county department, we just give the vehicle to them, or are they paying for it out of their budget?
That's a very good question. I don't know.
So a vehicle is definitely a different thing, but it's not altogether unknown when one department has something, they need to get rid of it, that it goes up on goes to all the department heads saying, hey, we have this, and if anyone wants it for free for their department, they can have it and have to come get it. And that's how it works with other departments. Obviously, a vehicle is different, but that's generally how it works with moving property between the departments.
What I'm familiar with, county, with my years of being around prior to me being a county board supervisor, I remember like the egg extension office that now they were liquidating or moving, or that they had like couches and chairs and tables and desks, and that stuff was given up, offered, but I've never heard of a vehicle just being offered to county departments and then they have it able to work with. I don't know. I think that's more meant for office supplies, like I said, or other stuff. I don't think vehicles would be the one. But maybe land conservation needs a vehicle.
Pine Valley did the same thing, Carrie, when they moved into their new building. All their TVs, and the sheriff's department actually got several of those.
I don't know. Maybe land conservation needs a vehicle. They've always said they had to borrow one, didn't they?
Yeah, but I think now they have full-time vehicle they were sharing with Pine Valley. So I don't think they do. They have a truck that's available to them full-time now. One truck.
It probably wouldn't hurt to ask if any of the other departments want them. If no one wants it, then if they have to pay for it or not is a moot question.
Right.
I agree with Bob. I would find out what year he purchased that squad car and try to relate that with any resolution that we had and see what that resolution says.
Or would it be
I
the
guess I'm not
resolution?
sure.
Go ahead, Clay.
And Bob could maybe speak to this, but I think Bob was referencing that it's usually, so we bought those 4 Durangos this year. In the resolution to buy those 4 Durangos, there normally would have been language to sell the surplus vehicles.
And
I don't believe that.
So you don't think that there was language in there about selling, correct?
I will go back and double check, but I don't believe there was.
Okay. All right. Clint, did you have something?
Madam Chair, just asked Victor on historically what we've done, and Victor had said that historically we do follow Rule 14 for the sale of it because it is over 1,000, that it has to be approved by the county board, and then in the resolution they would then specify which fund then the money would return to if it wasn't going to come directly to the general fund.
Okay. All right. So then why don't we proceed giving them permission for liquidation of that vehicle, and then Clay, you can put in the resolution, or tell Ben to put in the resolution that you would like to request the money come back from the general fund into the new car outlay.
Okay, thank you.
So would someone like to make that motion?
I'll move Carrie Severson.
I'll second.
All right. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? All right. You have approval to liquidate the Quad 14. All right. Item number 11, portable radio purchase approval.
Yeah. What's that?
If you've had a chance to look, we have 3 quotes or estimates for portable radios. Again, this was sent back to committee by Finance and Personnel for compliance with Rule 14. So we've already looked at General Communications. Since then, I've gotten 2 additional quotes. One from Poynton for $1982.94, and one from Bant Communications for $1,752.80. That would be the lowest bid, and I would see really no reason why not to go with that. It's all the same equipment. The only thing I did notice, I think Bant Communications, it doesn't appear that they have a charger spec in their quote, but it's a $65 item. It's not going to put them above anybody else.
All right. So you are okay with taking the lowest bid from your perspective?
Yeah, it's all the same. It's all the same radio. So.
Okay.
Yep.
I would make a motion, we accept that bid.
All right, motion by Cosgrove to accept that bid from Brandt Communications.
A second.
Seconded by Severson. Any further discussion?
Real quick question. Does that include any programming that needs to be done on these, or who's handling the programming of the radios?
It does include $62 for a programming fee.
Perfect. Thank you. Just didn't.
All right. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Motion carries. You have approval to the Brandt Communications bid. All right, so that brings us to item number 12, approval of radio system maintenance contract, Baycom.
If you have taken a look at that, I gotta find where I have that open on my screen here. We got a annual renewal for our service agreement with Baycom for 4 MTR 2000 repeaters, 2 Quantar repeaters, and then the 2 dispatch councils. I did have them make a few changes. I actually had them specify out the specific repeaters and the dispatch councils. And then they originally came at me with like a Monday through Friday, 8 to 4:30 service time, and I had them change that to 24 hours. But it is the same service agreement total that we were charged last year for their service.
And this is in your budget, right? This maintenance
Yes,
agreement.
this is in our budget.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Committee members, any would entertain a motion to approve this contract, and then we can discuss.
I'll move to accept Baycom.
I'll
All right,
second.
motion then seconded by Cosgrove. Any further discussion on this? All right. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? All right, we have approved the Baycom maintenance contract. Item number 13, radio consultant bid review and selection. Administrator Langrick?
Madam Chair, today we're crossing a hurdle here with our efforts to find a solution for our aging tower and radio infrastructure. And of course, to enhance the coverage, we took actions to pursuing a study of our existing system, as well as devising a solution and a path to remedy those defects that we know about and that we hope to also find through an analysis and study of our system. As part of this, we did assemble a research team with the goal of putting together an RFP to find a vendor to perform an analysis on our study, to help us with specification design, and then to help us in consultation through the implementation potentially of a project to, again, upgrade, replace, and enhance our communication program. The schedule of events that we pursued as posted through our RFP is that we closed the proposal bid window on December 9th at 2 o'clock, 3:30 p.m. we opened the bids. There was 3 bids that came into us within time. These were placed in the committee folders. They were from True North, from Evans, and then from Tusa. In compliance with our timeline today, we're looking to review those proposals with LEGC and then get to a point of selecting finalists. Extended conversation with Director Scott and with Chief Porter, and with comments sent back from a few of the members of that team. I think we're in a position right now where we don't see a reason why all 3 of the folks, the companies that submitted bids, should not be considered as finalists. So first recommendation today would be to accept all 3 bids as finalists. We can reach out to them. With that, we would arrange then for a finalist interview. The date that we have on the schedule would coincide with the LEJC January 8th meeting. Decision point to yourself, Madam Chair, and your committee today would be, how would you like to conduct the interview? Is this something that you would like brought forward to the LEGC directly underneath closed session 1985 1E? I think we can go closed under, and we can interview the 3 companies, or you can say, it's kind of how we've done with the RFP process of administrator, assemble a panel, interview, and come forward with a recommendation. The other decision point then I would ask the committee then today is to appoint then 2 for interview questions by assigning someone to develop the interview questions, which will be presented then in evaluating the finalists. So the 3 decision points again today are first come in with a recommendation to have all 3 bids considered as finalists for next month. And then I would ask your opinion on how you would like that interview to be done. If you would like it directly before LEJC, or if you would like it to be handled by a panel that I would assemble on your behalf, or, and then the third option then is looking for authorization to put together a questionnaire for those interviews. Madam Chair, that is what I have. Additional comments may be appropriate at this time also from Director Scott, Chief Porter, and members of the team as well as your committee.
All right. Director Scott, did you want to comment first at all, or you're good?
We've all reviewed them, we've talked about them. Each proposal has strengths and weaknesses, and I'm really anxious to interview all 3 because I think that will further clarify a lot of our questions.
All right. And Chief Porter, Sheriff Bindle, do you have?
I have to agree that I think an interview would be would probably solve or take care of a lot of the questions that I have. I had called and I've spoken with a number of the references that each of the companies provided, and I just think talking with them in person, interviewing them in person, would help greatly in making this decision.
Okay. So I guess my question for the committee is, how do you feel about whether we do the, we are present and involved in the interview process, or whether we want to let the people that know more about this do the interview process as well, or if we all want to be involved in the interview process?
I would defer to the experts on the matter.
That's sort of where I'm at. Carrie, what do you think? You're muted.
I'm fine either way. Yes. I wouldn't mind listening to them, seeing what they offer, but I'm not very knowledgeable of some of these employees that we have are like this. And I'd like to hear what their questions are and how they respond to them. Just would make it easier to make, because we're going to make that final decision.
Right.
We're doing this based off of what the employees want, and I want to make sure that they get what they want for this instance.
Right. Chief Porter, how do you guys feel about, do you want, and you feel free to be honest here, do you want our input and involvement in the process, or would you rather, vet the finalist and then bring information to us as far as your recommendations?
I think either way is an acceptable, if there's just specific committee members that are interested in taking part in the interviews, that would be fine. But I think, with the discussions that Clint and Barb and I have been having, we certainly could come up with a good line of questioning, I think, for these consultants.
Yeah, there's kind of 2 separate questions here. One is, who's going to be doing the interview process, and the other one is who's going to make the questions. They may be the same person in both, or group of people for both, but I guess I'm tending towards, Carrie's right. In the end, we're the ones that have to make the committee has to make the decision. And so I guess my thought is that I'd like to be present, but I don't necessarily need to be asking the questions. I would more really for informational purposes and making sure I truly understand, all the issues and what all we're trying to address with. So I guess my thought would be that we would be present, but that the questions would come up. You guys would come up with the questions, and you would be asking the questions. And certainly, if we come up with questions in the middle of it, I think we would feel free to ask those questions, but I think for the most part it would be led by Administrator Langrick and Chief Porter and Director Scott. Would make the most sense to me.
That sounds good to me.
Yep.
Okay. Do we need to have any kind of motion or anything for this, or are we just saying that this is what we're going to do at our next meeting? We'll have a closed session.
I guess I would recommend the motion then in three parts. Recommend to accept the 3 bids received as finalists. Arrange for interviews at the next LEJC. And then assign staff to bring forward interview questions and evaluation tools.
Okay. So I guess we'll do 3 separate motions. So someone want to make a motion to accept the 3 bids we got as finalists?
This is Carrie. I'll move to accept our 3 bids that were received. Tusa was the other one, North Point, North Star, and Evans.
True
As our
North.
3,
Yeah.
True North.
Yep.
And Evans as, and along with the other one, Tusa, is our 3 finalists in our tower project proposal.
All right. So I have a motion. Do I have
I'll
a
second.
Thank you. All right. Any further discussion on the motion to accept as finalists the 3 bids from Tusa, True North, and Evans to move forward in the interview process? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? All right. So then the second part is that we would have the review the proposals at the next LEJC meeting. Is that was the second one, correct?
Would be to conduct the interviews in conjunction with the next LEJC meeting.
Correct. All right. So I'll make that motion just to mix things up a little.
I'll second.
All right. So motion by Lux, second by Cosgrove. Any further discussion to have we will interview the finalists at the next LEJC meeting?
What time do you want for that?
That's a good question. I'm
Like,
assuming it
are
will.
they gonna? I'm
Madam,
thinking like they're wanting to go to 8:30 or whatever. Like, do you have a time where maybe at 11 o'clock, True whatever comes in, and then Tusa at 1 o'clock, or I don't know how long it's gonna take.
Right. Yeah, that's a
Half a
very
day
good.
affair. Or,
Madam Chair, right now we have it on the RFP. Do we have a time? January 8th, we said on the RFP 10 a.m., but we have a language, of course, where we can modify the schedule with 48-hour notice out to the folks. So if there's a time that works better for yourself, it doesn't even necessarily have to be on the 11th. We can make arrangements to try to do that. I would just say that probably the vendors are right now are tracking on their calendars that date and time.
It's January 8th, right? Is that the date?
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
January 8th at 10 a.m. is what we had posted.
Right.
Would you want to
Okay.
consider a special meeting just for that?
I'm wondering if that might be maybe slightly more efficient, right? I mean, what we could do is have the regular meeting at 8:30 and then that one would end and then we would have a second meeting. Are you allowed to do that?
one like today, I bet you it would be all right. It's by pretty fast.
Right.
Seen so.
Right.
On pace, then I've also seen take over an hour.
Well, right. I mean, it's pretty unpredictable depending on what's on the agenda. I would say we'll have our meeting. We'll start at 8:30 and then we could always adjourn for a few minutes if if the regular meeting ends early, we could adjourn for a few minutes until, 10 o'clock when the next one, unless you guys want to do something different, I don't know.
I guess I would plan at this point, I plan to working with Director Scott and Chief Porter predominantly to put together interview questions that we think would gauge about 30 minutes worth of questions and then leave 15 minutes for questions and comments and exchange back. We'll try to shoot for like a 45-minute window then for each vendor and having 15 minutes to kind of assess and reassess afterwards. So it'd be about a 3-hour package. So you're looking at then 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock to execute the interview. So I mean, and with that too, we can always recess for a lunch and then reconvene in the afternoon. There's ways to manage and maneuver through it. If there's more appropriate to do a different day, we can do that as well, provided that we can find a day that it lines up for us and lines up for our vendors.
So I'm assuming we think we would be doing these in person, or do we think we would be doing this via WebEx?
I would probably recommend we do it via WebEx, and we'd be able to control the meeting with locking folks out at any given time. Obviously, we wouldn't want to have conflicts of interest by having the other two vendors listening to the first vendor, as discussed with Director Scott earlier this morning.
Right. Okay. All right. Well,
We do it via WebEx, though. We'll have to, that'll be fine. I like the WebEx. I get it because of the social distancing. And I also think that the one firm is quite a distance. But I also think that there's value in being in person as well. Half of me wants to see them function, but I guess it is what it is.
Yeah, I
Give them
mean,
the option.
potentially. I mean, what I was thinking is, as we go through this WebEx version, I mean, my gut feeling is we're probably going to come up with someone who we have a pretty strong feeling for. So then at that point, we could ask them, before we give them the final contract, we could ask them to come back for an in-person meeting with you and Clinton. So we could handle it that way, where we do these initial ones via WebEx. And then if there's one, and if there's two that you really like that you still can't decide, then at that point we could bring them in. Then they don't have to meet with the whole committee. They could just meet with, sorry, I can't turn that phone off. So, all right. So we have a motion on the floor to do these interview process at the January 8th LEJC meeting. So all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? All right. And then the last one is looking for a motion to assign who will create the questions. And I believe Administrator Langrick already stated that, that he and Director Scott and Chief Porter would be willing to do those and are probably the most appropriate people to create the interview questions. So
I would make a motion, or you go ahead.
Yeah, well, okay. So motion by Cosgrove, second by Luck, that those three employees would be the ones coming up with the questions. Any discussion? All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right. You guys can come up with the questions. I wouldn't mind seeing the questions ahead of time, just so that I kind of have an idea of what you guys are thinking are, really important, are key points to this. Just whenever, sometime before the next meeting, if you have those questions done, if you want to just shoot an email with what the questions are, I would appreciate it. All right, anything further on the radio consultant bid review and selection? All right, then we will move on to, I assume Power 14, it just because it's on there all the time, but radio tower project updates. I think we just talked on that.
Well, I can just kind of talk on it too. So just so everybody has an idea of where the bids are in a price range wise. True North kind of had theirs broken down into 3 types of phases. To get to an endpoint of having specification designs in place and consultation, they had it priced out at approximately $80,000. From what we're gathering with TUSA, again, and all these are more questions to make sure that our expectations are matching up with their envisioning. With TUSA, they came in at the range of $37,620, and then Evans came in at about $44,987. Now, out of our short-term borrowing right now, we have earmarked approximately $45,000 moving forward into next year. So just so you have a sense financially where the money pieces are as we build the questions and get into the interview next week. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. All right, that brings us to item number 15, mapping radio system and squad updates. Chief Porter, did you want to talk at all on this?
Not a whole lot to report on squad updates. We do have one of the new ones in the shop already, which is unfortunate, but yay for warranties. But other than that, the reports I'm getting from them have been pretty good. I don't have anything to report on mapping. Radio system, we have not had any, well, I shouldn't say that. We are having trouble with our OP2, our second dispatch station. We've been having some gremlins that have been kind of popping their head every now and then with that station. And I'm sure Barb can add to this, we do have our concerns with how much life we have left in our dispatch councils. With that said, I'm just happy we're moving in the right direction with this radio system project, because we're probably going to need that upgraded sooner rather than later.
I thought we replaced our dispatch councils when we did the PSAP,
Yeah.
No?
We replaced our dispatch councils with used dispatch councils a number of years ago.
Oh, okay.
And that was kind of one of those things we did where it was going to be a temporary fix, and temporary has been extending into far too long. So.
All right.
Melissa, the NG911 stuff that we didn't include the actual consoles. That was the 911 piece of it, and then the dispatch consoles is a radio piece of it.
Oh, okay. Okay. Thank you for the clarification.
Mm-hmm.
So complicated. All right. Okay. Well, it looks like we are to item number 16, adjournment.
I'm sorry,
Oh.
Chair Luck, can I add a comment, please?
Yes.
Thank you. So I just want to go back to the mapping topic. On the state level, we are working on some grants for the EZNet project, which includes that mapping piece that is going to be critical across the state. I know Richland County recently did their review on that, and we will be having training standards information coming out the first quarter of next year for all the PSAPs across the state. I think there's going to be 3 or 4 meetings across the state to make sure everybody's on the same page to get the mapping similar between the PSAPs, so we can start sharing that information across the EZNet. The subcommittee meets on Friday of this week, and we hopefully at that point are going to have the new information on the EZNet contract, which has been in the RFP process for over a year now, just because of the COVID mess. So between that and Act 26 grants, we're still pushing for all the PSAPs in Wisconsin and the funding. So.
Do you think that there are grants available to try to replace some of this equipment?
So the grant process, we're currently writing the rules for that right now, and it will start out as 1 PSAP per county forever is what the project is. So Richland County is in a great position because there is only 1 PSAP. Equipment-wise, it will not replace radio equipment. Anything to deal with RF or radio transmissions, it will not do. However, it will handle recorders for the future. It will handle the PSAP stations. It'll handle interfaces that might go into other items and other products. So I think it's really good as we're looking at this RFP process for the radio project, that we also make sure that we're looking at the any pieces that might combine and work together. Timeline of the funding, we have to get we have the act, we have the legislation done. We're hoping this next biennium, Wisconsin Counties Associations is pushing for $15 million biannually to go out to the PSAPs. The advantage of that is it'll also include training. So the telecommunicators will be able to pay for training for whether it's EMD or whatever extra training they need. We're actually going to have a pot of money, we're hoping, just like we do for law enforcement and jailers. There's funding there for their training, so we're trying to include that also. When will that be available? When the legislation actually passes the budget. So July, August, September, tell me when they're going to do that, then we'll have more information.
All right, thank you. All right. I would entertain a motion to adjourn. So our next meeting, I guess we decided would be, do we want to move to an 8:30 start time? Does anyone have problem with an 8:30 start time?
No.
None on our end.
Okay. Carrie, does it 8:30 okay for you?
I know it'll probably work out all right.
Do you
I get
have?
I get off work at 7 in the morning. Don't get home till 8 o'clock. So
So it's kind of pushing it a little.
well, I don't know if it's pushing it. It's just fine. I like sleeping.
I mean, I guess I would like the clerk court to be able to be at the meetings, and it may be easier for the DA and the register and probate as well to be at the meetings. And so, you know, I think I would like to have the next meeting start at 8:30 then to accommodate that. So we'd be adjourning to January 8th at 8:30. And then I guess we'll just determine whether we'll just go straight into the interviews with the radio consultants, or if we'll have an afternoon meeting. What I mean, I think it seems like we could go straight into the next meeting. So, okay. So do I have a motion? Did someone make a motion to adjourn?
I'll make that motion. All right, no second.
Okay. All right, I have a motion and a second. All those in favor of adjournment signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? All right, are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Yep.